Good afternoon, everyone. Let's wait a few more minutes to let participants join the webinar. My name is Chiara Monticone, and I'm a senior policy analyst at OECD, where I have the pleasure of coordinating the financial education work of the OECD, which also includes coordinating Global Money Week, which is happening this week, and which also includes this event, this webinar. I have to say that I'm particularly happy to have the honor of moderating this event today for personal and professional reasons. As some of you may know, this webinar is jointly organized by CeRP-Collegio Carlo Alberto, where I have spent 5 years of my life. So working with Elsa and many other colleagues there who have become longtime friends. So I have very fond memories of those times. But also I'm very happy to join you for this webinar, because this is a really a good example of a Global Money Week event, because you have global in the title, but most of the activities actually happen at national level, while this webinar is very interesting because it brings together organizations from different parts of Europe working together on a single project for students in the European Union. So this is really in the nature and the spirit of Global Money Week. So I see already many people have joined and a few more are joining. So I will now hand the floor to two colleagues who will introduce and give opening remarks for this webinar before we go into the main presentations. So let me first give the floor to Oscar de Grave. Oscar is project manager at the Dutch MoneyWise platform, and he is also the coordinator of the Dutch Money Week, which will actually happen next week. So Oscar, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chiara. Hello, everyone. My name is Oscar, and first of all, thank you for the opportunity to share a brief glance of the Dutch Money Week, which actually is starting next week. So you can imagine that we are going on all cylinders to get everything organized for next Monday. And a big congratulations to OECD, Global Money Week, the whole team of Chiara with the 10th anniversary of Global Money Week. In the Netherlands, we are really proud to be part of this great movement, and we are looking forward to the next 10 years of even more success. Yeah, we have. I have a couple of slides. Thank you, Carlotta. I'm not so technically savvy, so thank you for the help. Dutch Money Week. It starts on Monday, and on the next slide, you will see that we have connections with Global Money Week, as in it's sort of the same, but we just call it differently. We have our own branding. It's called Week van het Geld, Dutch Money Week, but in the sense it's just the National Money Week. In 2018, we had a joint launch. During Dutch Money Week was also launch of the Global Money Week, and the photo on the right hand side, that is our 10th anniversary. So last year we had our 10th, and for Dutch Money Week we have our queen. She's here on the left photo, but also on the next slide you'll see her. She's our honorary chair of the MoneyWise platform. MoneyWise, that's our national platform that organizes the Dutch Money Week. And she is a strong ambassador for both financial education, but also for financial inclusion. On the next slide, you will see different brands that we have, different projects we organize with the MoneyWise platform. So Week van het Geld is all about financial education for the youth, but we also have a project for pensions or for financially fit employees. And for all our events, live events are a starting point. So I think there is a clear link to the main presentation for today. In the Netherlands, on the next slide, unfortunately, we are a bit jealous of other countries, but because in the Netherlands, financial education isn't mandatory at schools. And we are trying to get that fixed. but now we have to work together with all our partners. So we see school as an opportunity, but also the home situation, the social media surroundings of the young are important to focus on, and we do that both on a national and a local level. More and more local governments are joining the Dutch Money Week. On the next slide, you will see the theme for this year. We focus on the digitalization of money. We call it Van Doekoe to Digi. I don't think Yara knows what it means, but well, the Digi part is great. So we really try to focus on how money and the way we use money differs, and that with all the digital savvy solutions also comes a risk, and we want to educate the kids on how to use it responsibly. We focus on primary education, as the next slides will show you. We have a couple of things for them that are starting next Monday. So we have a little newspaper for the schools in primary education with all like little tasks for in the class, but also for at home. That's sort of connects to the news show we also have, Week van het Geldjournaal. We started it last year when everything was online. So we have every morning we put on a news show online with different money themes, and then after the 15 minutes of the news show, they can do the little tasks in the newspaper. We also have guest lectures again. We can go back to the schools, and we have Geldlessen. That is our online database for all different educational materials if the teachers want to do something by themselves. Besides primary education, we also have vocational education as our primary focus. We have a magazine on money for that. These are for older kids, so it's more also about if you have financial problems, how do you solve them? So we also have guest lectures. We have a few news guest lectures. One is about crypto and stocks, and how do you work with that, but also like the social, your insurance, how does that work, or taxes. We have a collaboration with Phonics. It's a national radio program, really big with the youth. So they will be making different programs all week about money, talking with the kids instead of talking about the kids. And we are working, in the next slide, you'll see with local governments. So more and more local governments are joining. We also have an online database where they can share their best practices. So what kind of activities do they do for youth with regard to money? And so how can the cities learn from each other? Because financial, if the local governments have a strong role here in the Netherlands when it comes to people having financial difficulties, then the solution is locally. And we try to inform parents more through the local governments about what's going to happen with the kids when he starts 18, when there's a lot of financial responsibility. I can give you a little sneak preview on the next slide. Last week we've had our filmings in the studio for the news show. We had lovely guests. One was our Olympic ice skater. Today there was a newspaper where the new Minister of Finance had a sort of chit chat with kid reporters on their questions about money. There's a lot going on here in the Netherlands. We are really proud of. You can go to our website on the next slide, and yeah, really happy and ready for next Monday. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Oscar. That was very interesting. And it looks very cool to be a young kid in the Netherlands, to be able to participate in all these activities. So now let me give the floor to Carlotta Rossi. She's a senior economist at the Bank of Italy, and she is also the coordinator of the Global Money Week in Italy on behalf of the Italian Financial Education Committee. Please, Carlotta, now you, I think Oscar set the benchmark very high, so we would like to hear from you now. I think you may be muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, thank you, Chiara. I'm very pleased to participate in this webinar organized in cooperation with the Center for Research on Pensions and Welfare Policy and the Dutch Global Money Week. So thank you very much. As already Chiara said, I'm Carlotta Rossi from Bank of Italy, and I coordinated the Italian Global Money Week on behalf and with the help of the Financial Education Committee. So I have very few slides on the, okay. I will present a very brief update on how Global Money Week is going in Italy. Okay, great. So this is the second year that the Global Money Week takes place in Italy under the national coordination of the Financial Education Committee. And I have to say that the results are promising. This year, the number of activities included in the Global Money Week has more than doubled compared to 2021, reflecting, I would say, the growing awareness of the importance of financial education in our country. The Italian Global Money Week is a very joint effort among many voices. The Global Money Week includes activities by around 40 Global Money Week partners, public and private institutions, associations, universities, and research centers. The plurality of the Global Money Week partners stands in a wide range of activities. So the Global Money Week activities this year span from activities carried out by little school in small cities to more articulated educational programs, as in the case of annual. The activity differ according to children and youth age. For the little ones, the Global Money Week offers workshops such as planting a vegetable garden in the schoolyard to the creation of imaginary friends with own budget and financial needs, fairy tales and stories in traditional mood or digital formats. For the older ones, the Global Money Week offers webinars, online and face-to-face lessons, theater performances, tutorials and podcasts, and many other activities, including challenges and quizzes. This year, the Global Money Week also hosted the national selection for the European Money Quiz. What about the topics? The Global Money Week 2022 covers a wide range of topics. Most of the activities are focused on money, payment instruments, saving, and financial planning in strict relation with the digitalization of the financial system. Other activities deal with investment and insurance issues, also the decision process and behavioral finance, and looking to the future, even to retirement planning. The Italian Global Money Week speaks to students, but also to teachers and their families. Of course, Global Money Week talks to university students too, with several activities. I think this year we have about 50 activities for university students, including the Angle project, that is a very unique opportunity for university students to access free financial education leaflets covering the main financial issues that people face in their lives. So I don't want to take more time away from the Angle team, and I leave the floor to the Angle team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlotta. This is also very impressive, not just in terms of the number of participants into the Italian Global Money Week, but I know that you have put a lot of efforts into the coordination, especially last year, and this is giving great results. So let's now turn to the main part of this webinar, where we will hear more about the booklets developed under the Angle project, where Angle stands for a network game for Lifecycle education. So this is really financial education in life cycle and long-term perspective. So for this presentation, I will give the floor to Elsa Formero, who perhaps doesn't need an introduction, but she's currently the scientific coordinator of CeRP-Collegio Carlo Alberto and has many other roles in the past. Also Marco Di Saro, who is a researcher, also at CeRP-Collegio Carlo Alberto, and Laura Tresso, who is a student also at Collegio Carlo Alberto. So I will now let the three of you present the project. Thank you very much.
I think I will start. And of course, since it is really a great opportunity for us to present our project, I will start with thanks. First of all, thanks to Chiara, to Oscar and Carlotta for their introduction. Of course, thanks to Oscar and the staff at MoneyWise and the Italian Committee for Financial Education, coordinator of GMW for Italy, for co-organizing this webinar with CeRP-Collegio Carlo Alberto. I also want to thank our Dutch partner Nibud, in the person of Sandra Showmakers and Michael Visser, for putting us in touch with Oscar, and all our partners in the Angle project, whom I will list in my presentation. And of course, there are always persons behind the projects whom may not be frontline, but merit particularly our thanks. And this is, for me, it's Silvia Maero, who I know is following, although she is not directly in the webinar. So let me see if I can share my screen, which is this. And let's see. So let's go to presentation, beginning. Do you see the screen? Do you see the screen?
Yes, Elsa, if you can put it in full screen mode, perfect, thanks.
So that is, I will say something about, let's say, the aims and target, about the team, about the output, and the funding and stakeholders. Now, we all know, particularly those who have been engaged in financial literacy research or activities for some years, and I think I can say that I'm one of them, a very enthusiastic one, that we know that the young people sometimes have difficulties in having basic knowledge of economics and finance. And we all know that this knowledge today is really very important, we would say essential. That's why we speak of literacy, because we consider that this is part of basic knowledge that one has to have in this very complex and sometimes sad life. So our target are the young. How many times have you heard, let's say, a student in medicine saying, oh, don't talk me about finance or economics because I understand nothing of it. Or a young architect or whatever. This is because, of course, in many countries, and our is one of them, don't have a program in financial literacy in their curricula. So our target are the young, in particular, the young. Go. Why does not go? Excuse me, here. University students, but we also have as the secondary target the need. You know that that is a problem for us in particular because we have a high number of young who neither study nor work and also do not take professional courses. So, and many times they have no idea indeed what the implications of this absence from important activity for their life. So we want, we want to promote and enhance younger generations' financial literacy to adopt a life cycle perspective, because a key point of the whole project is to make the young understand that their choices, when they are really very young, have consequences for the rest of their life. And so that's why we took a life cycle perspective. Of course, we try to use innovative technologies of education by taking advantage of this quote, which has been attributed, I'm not sure that it is correct, attributed to Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of USA, who said apparently, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So a typical characteristics of our project is to involve the young in the booklets. We have involved them and also in the game, because here are the outputs. So what is to be presented today is the booklet series, which we have called the Be in Charge of Your, sorry for a mistake, of your life cycle. The second one is board game. So we meant even the booklets are an input to the board game. In the end, we hope that the young, the students or the users of this project, the end user will be amused by taking a game. And the third output is a set of online videos co-created with the students. So here are the partners. I will start with Dauphine in France, Nibud in the Netherlands, together with Tilburg University. Then we have the Warsaw School of Economics, the ETLA, which is a research institute connected to the university in Finland. Then there are 3 partners in Italy. And the first is us, CeRP-Collegio Carlo Alberto. The second is Skilled Together. That is a research center involved particularly in new educational instruments. And the third one, very interesting partner, is Push. And Push is a set of, well, no, it's a group of young people who have specialized in creating games, not specifically, this is their first game on financial education, but they have won already many European projects exactly in terms of games. And so this is the team. So let's see the funding and stakeholders of the project. The project is financed by the Erasmus Plus program. The stakeholders, we have many. We think of, since our main targets are university students, we think of universities, but also high school. Then we have public institutions who may be, let's say, induced to consider, for example, in Italy, having a financial education program compulsory in primary or high school. Then we have financial institution, of course, OECD, EU financial committees, central banks, financial observatories, and other institutions like Consumer Association, Students Association, and Citizens Association. So let's see output one, the 5 booklets. Here is in the photo is an occasion in which I presented the booklets and I discussed the booklets with high school students here in Turin. And it has been a very, I would say, useful for me and instructive session because you understand that the young typically have different perspectives on things than you have. So booklets have been tested in focus group. They are written, we hope so, in simple and captivating narrative. There are concepts and definitions in boxes. Of course, since we take this life cycle perspective, the concepts go much beyond the big 3, the big 5 questions that Anna Maria Lusardi and Olivia have long ago designed. Then there are relevant updated data from the real world. So for example, we think that students should also have an idea of the level of youth unemployment. And finally, each booklet has exercises to test the knowledge that they have. So let's see booklet. Another characteristic, but this I have already told, is the life cycle approach. So when you see this little girl becoming a grown-up girl, and then a middle age, and then an old woman, that is kind of seeing her through her life. It's not a cross-section of women. This is a longitudinal perspective. And of course, this longitudinal perspective has been inspired by Nobel Prize winner Franco Modigliani's model. And it considers a stylized life. Of course, we cannot put too many complications because we wanted to teach basic financial education. And so we consider 4 key financial decisions in life. And of course, these are financial, are not a personal decision like choosing a partner. And we have the first booklet whom we have devoted to a person called Maria, which in a very simple narrative describes Maria as an old, well, almost older woman looking back at her life with no regret. And that means that she considered all the important decision points in her life and consider, well, I've been lucky, or I have been wisely advised, maybe from my parents, or maybe I had the right basic knowledge to take the right choice. So our four booklets and our 4 operative booklets, the one that describe the key choice point in life are, well, when you are young, do you want to continue studying, or do you go for a job? That is a critical point that everybody has. Then when you have a job, you have an income, possibly a good income, you may save, or if you have a very little income, you may be induced to dissave, so to get into debt. But if you have saved, then you have to take care of your savings, and so you have to invest. Then maybe when you are a bit more grown up, you have a decision to make when to leave your family, so buy or rent your house. And finally, the decision that we consider is whether you retire or continue to work, because every pension system has an earlier retirement requirements and then the normal retirement age. So this is also a characteristic decision in the life cycle. So booklets number 2 consider studying or going to work. And this is centered on, let's say, the contraposition between being short-sighted or having mid-long-term behavior, decision, attitudes. So for example, in the booklets, and I will call Laura to say what she thinks about these booklets, which is particularly the one that we have discussed with students. You have here the example of, okay, do I watch football? Today we have a very important one tonight in Italy for the World Championship. So how many students are there to consider, do I have to watch to study, or can I watch Italy against Macedonia, North Macedonia? Or a more important decision, taking a sabbatical to update, widen your human capital. Then there are the knowledge of returns to education to get a better job and possibly a higher wage. And for each of these choices, we consider different scenarios in order to have the idea that for big decisions, you have both expected benefits and costs. And so you have to evaluate them in their particular circumstances. So talking about this, which is one of the most important for students, Laura, what would you say? What are your impressions, the impression that you got when you discussed this with other colleagues?
I think it's important that gives the possibility to young people to look at their future, comparing all the opportunities that they can have. Also because I think that normally in Italy, higher education is considered more expensive than what it is in reality. Instead, luckily, there are many financial supports for students in need, and I'm speaking also regarding my own experience, but many times students don't know about these opportunities, and so this can prevent them from beginning on a new path in their life. But also, I think speaking about experiences, this is something that people right now evaluate more than I think some years ago. So, for example, speaking about taking a sabbatical, it is important to consider all the choices that we could have, and I think this booklet is helpful because, like in school, or high school maybe, or even university, we are not really led or helped to consider our future.
Thank you, Laura. Before going to the next booklet, I just want to tell you what maybe I already said, that it's not easy to write in a simple, at the same time, rigorous way, and having raising the interest of the young. So in diverse occasions, we prepared the booklets with them. Also for having what I called before a captivating narrative, because otherwise if they consider, oh, what a bore they are, well, of course, they are not going to use or they are not going to play even the game, of course. So Laura has been very useful also in this part, in suggesting a more brilliant way to write. Then we have this booklet 3, which is complex, consuming, saving, and investment. And maybe I ask Marco here. Marco has worked a lot on this project. So Marco, would you say something on this booklet?
Of course. This is a booklet which focuses on different topics. First of all, the management of personal finances. So there are some focus on budgeting, for example. And setting SMART goals. So SMART goals is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So it's not just I want to save because I want to save. It's you have to set a SMART goal which follows all these criteria that you can see also here. But then at certain points of your life, maybe you'll need also to ask for money, because of course it is important saving, but it's also important to understand how ask for money. So taking loans, for example, or using credit cards, which is something that is more and more in use also between the younger generation. And so as the whole project says, you have to consider the pros and the cons of using such financial instruments. And speaking of financial instruments, of course, there are also some hints on portfolio diversifications and basic investment choices, in particular bonds and stocks, which are maybe the two main possibilities you can have to invest. And of course, the idea that if you invest in bonds or stock, you have to diversify your portfolio in order to have safer returns respect to just invest in a single kind of financial instruments that could give maybe higher profits, but also higher losses. So safer choices and wiser I would say. So the idea that there is awareness in your choices, then it is a preference, individual preference. You could maybe prefer to invest in a single stock which can give you a lot of profits, but at least you know the risk of doing such a choice. And finally, also, as I said, taking loans, the usefulness of taking debt, it isn't a bad thing per se, but you also have to know the risk related to it.
Thank you, Marco. So this is very useful, I would say. And again, it is written in a nice language, I would say. There is one thing that maybe I should consider, that in writing, you know that Europe is very diverse among countries. So the booklets have to be written in English and then translated in each of the language of the different countries participating in the project. But when we decided what to write, what to capture, we considered not only the concept, the economic financial concepts to be inserted, but we also wanted to refer to, let's say, a European young person. So, because of course there are different institutions that have a different impact on financial choices. So we try as much as possible to refer to a young person who is definitely European. This was our aim. I am not sure whether we have achieved this objective, but it was a reference for us. The booklet 4 is buying or renting a house. And I said this because, for example, this specific topic is very different from, let's say, Northern and Southern European countries. In some countries, renting a house is very easy. The market is smooth and flexible. In other countries, it's much more difficult. And so in some countries, buying a house is an objective, I would say, almost irrespective of financial considerations. But here we consider the basic pros and cons of ownership, home ownership versus renting the house. And we also, of course, consider mortgages because when you buy a house, it may be 50%, it may be 70% or even higher or lower, but typically you ask for a mortgage. And what does it mean to have a mortgage, to have to pay every month an installment which can be fixed or variable, and so on and so on. So we give all these specification, again, in a simple way. Finally, retirement choices. We give an idea of the 3 pillars of pension systems, the one that it is pay-go, the one that it is financially funded. We give in an intuitive way the fundamental concepts of defined benefit and defined contribution, and then consider the choice retiring as soon as possible or working longer. You know that this is a critical topic. Many people, many young people, when they talk about pension, have the idea, oh, we will not get any. For them, a pension is something they have lost. It's something for which maybe the older generations are responsible, but they know that they have to provide themselves. So again, it may seem It may seem very, very distant from the perspective of the young, but it is something that it is important they consider, that they consider it is their savings in terms of contributions or saving in a pension funds that creates their the solidity of their future pension. And so it is work that is at the center of the pension system. Finally, output 2, a board game. This is really very interesting. I was very puzzled by the game, and I have to say that I have seen 2 sessions, and I am very, very satisfied of what the people in Palermo have done up to now, the push people have done up to now, because, and also the people in Rome have done, because it seems that it will be a very interesting game. So it replicates, the game replicates the real life experiences, allow players to earn points by making wiser, prudent choices in a long-term perspective, answering quizzes and giving correct advice to other players. The game is also cooperative. It's not just a competition for the one who is the winner. The winner is, but it has cooperation and co-creation features. And this is expected in September 2022. Finally, the online video. This video will be prepared by the young for the young. So it's again an aspect of teaching to your peers. Will be 3-minute videos based on key booklet topics. So for example, we have seen bonds versus stock, inflation, purchasing power, real estate, different pension systems, public debt, and debt sustainability, which is a concept very important but very difficult, green finance, cryptocurrencies. So the booklet will be prepared in Paris Dauphine, and we are very curious. We haven't seen, but we know that they are preparing. So this is what we wanted to say about this project. At the end of this webinar, you can learn more about the project, and you can really see and read the booklets in the website, the angle at the CeRP-Collegio Alberto website. You will see the booklets. And I also want to say that these are a bit, we have already worked quite hard on it, but it's still a bit work in progress. And so if you want to suggest us improvements, amendments, every feedback is really welcome. So I thank you very much. And since we have still some minutes, maybe if there are questions, Marco, Laura, and myself will answer your questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much to Elsa, Marco, and Laura for this very interesting presentation. I think everybody is really looking forward to seeing this book as finalized. So as Elsa said, we still have a few minutes before the end of the hour. So if you have any questions for our 3 presenters, you can put them in the Q&A function of Zoom, or as Elsa said, if you have any suggestions for improvement or any remarks, do not be shy and shout out. And while people reflect on their questions or remarks, perhaps I already have a question for our panelists. So do you already have plans or you or the other organizations in the project about the use of these resources, the booklets, the videos, and the board game? So how will it be used? Is there already some plan around this?
Yes, of course. Divulgation is a very, very important aspect of the project, Erasmus Plus in particular. And so, for example, next week, I've been invited for a meeting in a school in central Italy. And I asked whether they wanted me to talk about the job market or whether they wanted me to present the booklets and the topic of financial education. And they chose financial education and the booklets. So, of course, it is an instrument that can be presented in school, that can be discussed. So it is for teachers if they want, and but also for adult, because as we know, financial education, when not compulsory at school, can be discussed at home. So if students learn about something, or maybe they have a question which the booklet have generated, they can ask, what do you think of this, Dad, that I read in a booklet? So it's also, we will present these booklets and their possible use, even meeting associations, not necessarily association of students. And of course, we will possibly write something in newspapers, but also the social. And it's the young. One thing I haven't said is that Laura is part of a group of people, young students, at Collegio Carlo Alberto, whom we call ambassadors of financial literacy. And for example, Laura is really having a project, is preparing a project of presenting these booklets in the, parish meeting points for the young. During the pandemic, the young have been very, very isolated. And in Italy in particular, the parish open space for the young were very useful. So they said, we want to prepare this. And another one, which again is, will use the booklet, another project, is to present in centers of anti-violence, violence against the women. So in places where these women meet and have talks and discussions. Is that true, Laura?
Yes, we are preparing a sort of activities that will last like for 1.5 hours and will cover many topics like savings or financial market or basic concepts of financial literacy. And we expect them to be ready for the end of April, I guess. And this is being prepared by many students at Collegio Carlo Alberto.
And it was their initiative because they asked me once, and I encouraged them very much, consider yourself, prepare yourself projects, and they did. And I'm very proud of this.
Thank you, Elsa, and thank you, Laura, for what you're doing. I'm sure it's extremely useful. So we also have a question in the Q&A, actually 2 questions from Emanuela Rinaldi, who is a researcher in financial literacy. So the first one is about monitoring the efficacy of the booklets, if you have any plans around this. And if I may, I would actually add, if you have any plans of knowing the efficacy of the booklets versus the board game and the videos. I would be curious to meet you again in 1 year's time to, to see what have been the results. And the second question is if you are planning to use TikTok to disseminate about the booklets and the other resources.
Well, right. I start with the second one, which is easier for me because I'm not a TikTok user, but I have grandchildren who use. So I have already tested the oldest of my grandchildren. He is 15 and he was interested. So I think that having divulgation through TikTok is something that Marco will, assisted by Laura, and they will think about this, of course. The other question is...
just, if I can add, just
yeah,
I think the online videos at the moment, we thought to upload them on YouTube, but this suggestion on using also other means of social media platforms, I've write it down just to be sure, because it is interesting as an idea. Thank you.
Okay. Of course, monitoring is very interesting. And it is essential because you do something, and if you don't look at the results of what you have done, well, it ends with high probability in nothing. So we will certainly consider this. You know that these Erasmus Plus programs have little financing. And so we will have to do this with other finances, but certainly we will prepare the monitoring, see how many schools, what having surveys, a questionnaire, so that we will get feedback from the users. And then we will see how to use the feedbacks to improve, or whether it comes that people say it's useful, it was useful for this and for that. Something which may even be part of a research project, which will be built on this. So certainly it's something that we want to do, although it is not strictly required within this specific Erasmus. But it is necessary, and we will follow it.
And if I may add another thing again, we have considered the idea, in particular our partners, our in Paris Dauphine, will probably have some kind of test, if we want to call it experiment. We still have to design it in the exact form it will be carried out. But the idea is to testing the efficacy, as is asked about, of the efficacy of. We still don't know if all the three outputs, but probably the efficacy of board game will be evaluated, and probably also the other two outputs. We still don't have exact details on this, but we are working also on this aspect, which is, as I said, fundamental to understand if what we have done has some relevancy.
We want that has relevance.
Thank you both very much. We have one more question from Joanna Teczka-Góra from Poland. This is again for Elsa, Mark, and Laura, and she's asking if you're planning to have national seminars next year in 2023 in all of the project countries to disseminate these outputs. And I see Carlo.
We cannot force our partners. I think since we have within this project, we don't have financial means to sustain the surveys. So it is up to each country to follow. what we think, there was indeed another possibility for a different project, but we thought it was too premature for us. But of course, you would consider, for example, that having a board game may be a bit old-fashioned. So the next step would be an online game, but this needs a lot of work and it needs financing. So within this project, we are not also covering monitoring in each country, but it can be the premise for a different project where we improve this, joining games and financial literacy and the long run perspective. And in this other project, monitoring will be part of the inputs. So we will see in the future. But it is our determination.
Thank you.
Because Chiara and all, we believe in financial literacy, as Anna always says. Anna Lusardi, of course.
Yes, and if Elsa says that she's determined to do something, I'm quite confident that this will happen. So I have no more questions in the chat, and our time is up. So I would like to thank very much our speakers who gave opening remarks, Oscar and Carlotta, and also Elsa, Marco, and Laura for this very interesting presentation. And as the project is forward-looking, we are also looking forward to hearing more about the next steps, the next outputs, and see how the monitoring goes. So let me wish a happy afternoon and happy Global Money Week to everyone.
Thank you. The same to you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.